Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I am your host, and joining me this week is one of my go-to podcast compadres, Mr. Levi Fletcher. Levi, we're in the end game now.
We're there.
We're there! Oh my goodness.
We're 40-man rating it now.
We're 40-man rating, yeah, pretty much. So for anybody joining us for the very first time, we like to talk about pretty much everything in pop culture. However, this week, there's only one thing that matters. Yes, there's been news about other things, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about Avengers Endgame and spoilers for everything, all right? I'm going to flip the spoiler switch here in just a second, but for anyone who hasn't seen the movie and they want to go in with fresh eyes, come back to this later. Don't listen to it now because we will ruin everything, all right? So just get out of here, okay? Because you shouldn't have probably clicked on a podcast that said Avengers Endgame spoiler discussion, right? That's on you at this point, so I'm giving you this time. But anyway, I'm going to flip the spoiler switch. Levi, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, this is the biggest spoiler switch ever.
Get your welding glasses on.
Here we go. Stop! 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 Okay. Whew. Sorry about that. That was a lot of spoilers right there. Whew. So many spoilers. Okay, anyway, Levi, I want to hop right in. And I kind of want to go character by character and kind of talk about, obviously we'll talk about the things we loved and things we didn't like. But before we get to that, do you have a score or just a feeling towards this film? You've seen it twice now. I only saw it once. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm okay. I will be a fanboy about it. I'm giving this film a 9.8 out of 10. It definitely ranks up there around Lord of the Rings style ratings. So I'm okay with that.
Okay, where does the 0.2 come off? Because I'm sure people will be like...
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right, fair enough. And I also did a spoiler-free review. If people haven't seen that yet,
what did you give it?
I gave it a very high score.
9.7.
No.
9.5.
I'm not gonna say. Anyway, you gotta go watch the review. I'll tell you later.
Nobody's gonna watch it.
We've gotten 17 views. But yeah, that's good for me. Anyway. Yeah, I thought it too was also very.
You should have titled it Avengers Wish List and then.
Oh yeah, dude, that's my wish list video is really well.
Clickbaited.
I should have done that. We should do that for movies. I've talked and thought about doing that for movies. That's a good idea. Anyway, I want to go character by character here, and I obviously have the 6 Avengers here sitting here, and I don't necessarily want to go in order here, but I want to start with the film. How it started. I want to start with Hawkeye. How do you feel about Hawkeye in this movie?
I feel pretty good about him. They introduced him a little odd, I feel, compared to being completely absent from Infinity War. And I don't really appreciate the lack of story of where he's been, but I get it plays into his character.
Sure. I meant more so in the very beginning too, with his family and stuff. I thought that scene was really good. Did you like that?
Yeah, very powerful, very emotive. Starts the film off strong. So
yeah, it's true. It is kind of weird that we kind of pick up in the film because they do this time jump 5 years later, and he's just going around killing a bunch of people in different bad Yakuza or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of okay, he's been doing that. It's kind of like Arrow. I keep thinking of Arrow the first season, and he's just a dude who's going around killing everybody, and it's fine. But I wish we could have seen a little bit more of that and the reasoning behind it, because there's just kind of the assumption that he's just been angry about his family dying, so he's I'm just gonna kill people. What did you think of that little action scene we got with him as Ronin?
I liked it. Yeah, I mean, it would definitely came out of left field where he's using a sword and taking down baddies, and it's holy shit, okay, this is what we're doing these days.
Yeah, I don't know why I did the sword thing, and I know some people really liked the kind of pan across the building and you don't really see everything. I wish we could have seen him in there in action and doing stuff, but he does slit a dude's throat, and that guy bleeds out, and it's the same guy from the Wolverine. He's been in some other stuff too, but it was kind of brutal. And then he kind of, they don't show it, but he kind of goes over and he takes his sword and he just kind of whoosh, the guitar right into the dude. It's oh, I guess we're just killing people.
Shit
now.
Got real quick.
Yeah, I was thinking about, oh yeah, so Clint's you know what, I'm just gonna start killing people now. But I get it. But I liked him in this movie. There wasn't a ton of him. How do you feel about his hair? We need to talk about the hair throughout this film.
Yes, I realize I have Hawkeye hair.
Yeah. Or kind of Captain Marvel.
His hair is cool. I don't like the mohawk down the back, but I like the rest of it. It's got a faux hawk kind of sides.
I think it's the weirdest looking when they're sitting down at that lake by the Avengers compound, and he's sitting there and he's got the super long mullet down the back kind of thing, and it's it's a little weird. But yeah, Hawkeye. I would say this is honest for me, it's probably his best performance though as this character. Like Jeremy Renner, for me, I was like, wow, he was really emotional, and his kind of story with Black Widow, I thought was really, really good too. I was like, oh yeah, like we're finally getting something, out of these two guys that isn't just like kind of throwaway. It was like, oh, this is like a really emotional moment, and I thought that was really nice. I was like, yeah. I know a lot of people be like Hawkeye's farm, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, I thought Hawkeye was good. I think we should just transition straight into Black Widow, though. Speaking about her, now I know a lot of people who've watched this stuff in the past probably know me. Like, I've never been the biggest fan of Black Widow, just because like her character's all over the place, and I never really felt super connected to her. But I feel like in this movie, I felt her like exasperation throughout it, and kind of being like the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a weird way, and just being like really tired. And I really liked her characterization. I don't know, Levi, how did you feel about her?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best performances I've seen from ScarJo in this series, so I'm really glad that, spoiler alert, her story ends on a really low note, but high performance, sad for her.
Yeah, one thing we were kind of joking about, Levi brought this up to me too, is that in the movie, like after the 5-year time jump, her hair is mostly red with a little bit of blonde at the end of it. And like you were saying, Levi, it wouldn't take somebody 5 years to like grow out like blonde. So it's like maybe a few months ago she decided to like just stop dyeing her hair, which I was just kind of a stupid funny thing we were thinking about. But I really think that stuff with her going to Vormir to because they have to do a time heist. They have to like go back and get the Infinity Stones out of time, and they go back to Vormir, her and Hawkeye, to get the Soul Stone. And that fight, that little tussle between them, I thought was really good. There was a lot of like there's a lot of moments where I was like, he did it, and then it was like, no, she did it, and then it just kept going back and forth, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna see a lot more of that come some solo films here and TV shows. So
sure, yeah. I just like, for me, I thought Hawkeye like was gonna get it because he like kind of knocked her down at the explosive arrow, and he kind of run and jump off, and then she grabbed him, and it was just this kind of, I really like that, and I like that they have this kind of platonic love for each other almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have like a brother sister kind of.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, but also not. Like there's this kind of like this weird, like it doesn't necessarily, it's not like they're just friends, but they're not like family. But I really enjoyed that. It was like, oh, one of them has to die for this. And they both loved each other so much that it like was like, okay. And they're the two members on that team that had like a pre-existing relationship. So I think it makes a lot of sense that they were the two that went to Vormir. And it sucks when he comes back out of time and they're like, did we get all the stones? And he's like on his knees. He's just like, oh my gosh. Like everybody else had like a decent time getting there. It's like sometimes it was a little bit harder, but this was like the worst. Like it's like, did you have to die to get yours? Because one of us had to die. Like she's not coming back. I did like though, and I've been telling people this, I like when she was dead on the ground that her hair kind of like the blood from her like looked like her hair kind of, and I was like, oh, that was cool. But it does kind of suck because she got sidelined for a lot of this movie, like half the movie, right? Would you say? Roughly half or maybe a third of it she's out.
Actually, I feel like she got a pretty decent amount of screen time in this movie, being a side character.
I meant like she's like one of the main Avengers, but she's not in that last fight. Like there's two main Avengers not in that last fight, which kind of sucks. It's like, I get it, but at the same time it's like but yeah, so I thought she was pretty good. Kind of staying with our femme fatales a little bit, I want to talk about Nebula. I think Nebula is really, really good, and I've liked her more and more every time I see her, and I do like how this film opens up with her and Tony actually aboard the Milano. I think it's the Milano, and they're like stuck out there, but they're like playing like paper football or whatever, and they're like working together. I really like Nebula. Do you like her in this film?
Yeah, I do. The first time I was introduced to her back in Guardians, I was like, oh, she's just a brat character. I don't like her. She's really grown on me.
Yeah, she's growing on you. What do you think about her dealing with her past self and then also Gamora?
I think it was a little too easy, but I realized why they had to make that kind of flow.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she could have been more stubborn about that whole situation. It makes sense.
Oh, like Gamora or Nebula?
Nebula, yeah. Okay. She came around too easy, I thought. Because she's been so stubborn.
Oh, sure.
And she was like, oh, I'm actually, like, this is where I could be.
Yeah, sure. Well, and then also she like kills herself, like her past self, which is kind of like, all right, because the time stuff, which we could probably just touch on for a second. Did you like, and seeing it the second time, did you enjoy how they did time travel?
Yeah, when I was explaining this to Doug, I was like, okay, so imagine Ocean's 11 meets superhero film, and he was like, I don't think I want to see this movie.
That's amazing to me.
I was like, just wait, you'll see. He's not a big fan of Oceans, but
Oh,
Um,
I love
yeah.
Ocean's 11 so much. Time Heist, baby, Time Heist. Yeah. I thought it was weird, but I really like Nebula, and I was kind of hoping she'd get the kill shot off Thanos. I think a lot of people were thinking she was going to, but I get why they didn't. And I just, the more I see her in the Guardians films and in this stuff, and I love watching her interact with Tony. I love watching her interact with the rest of the team.
I could see them like deleted scenes. I could see them giving every single one of their characters like a final kill scene.
Sure. Oh yeah, like everybody gets a kill
Yeah,
on Thanos.
I
Yeah,
could see the Feige brothers or the Russo brothers doing that just to like for fanfare and like, oh, everybody gets their shot. Like here's a deleted scene for every single person.
yeah, that would have been cool, dude. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, I also, we were kind of watching funny videos, and you reminded me that when she lands back at the Avengers headquarters 5 years later, and Scott Lang is there, and he loses his taco because he's eating one outside, and she lands, and she's telling like Rhodey, she's like, "Hey, War Machine, watch out! There's like an idiot at the landing zone."
I love that Scott Lang is such a comic relief character, but not overdone. He's not a Star-Lord.
Yes.
He's like
Yeah.
a subtle comedy that I really appreciate. Star-Lord is over the top.
Yes.
Like,
okay, that's perfect. I want to talk about those two characters. We'll do Star-Lord first because it's lesser. It's funny that they go back to that scene on Morag where he's going to go get the Power Stone from Guardians 1 back in like 2014 or 15 or whatever it is. And he's dancing and singing or whatever, and they're doing that sequence again. But then they shoot to like what it would sound like with him having the Walkman, and you couldn't hear the Walkman, and he's just like, "Go get your love," and they're just like,
that killed me.
yeah, and like War Machine's like, so he's an idiot, and he just drops him with one punch. He just walks in, he's like, whoo,
Yeah.
he does that. I like that, but I like that they sidelined him here because Gamora is kind of like his big emotional tie, and that kind of happened in the first film. So he's in it a little bit, and when he gets reunited with like Gamora from the past, who they brought to the future, there's like,
and Peter has a lot of screen time coming up, so I don't think that it's bad. Yeah, I mean Guardians 3, and then we're going to continue from there. Like I don't think Guardians 3 is going to be his last.
I just wonder if it was also a way for like James Gunn to also come back and get his kind of romantic, story to kind of unfold the way he wanted to, because they kind of wrapped that up in Infinity War. So they kind of like, after Star-Lord has that and his stuff with his dad and stuff, like I don't know how much more we can develop his character. Like, to me, I'm just like, yeah, he's a joke right now. I'm just like, you're a joke and you ruin things, so get out of here. So I was glad that he was kind of sidelined. But I will say this: you did bring up Scott Lang. Paul Rudd has maybe his best performance in this too. Not only it's kind of weird how he gets brought back. Like there's a rat that walks over like the van that he was trapped in, like the quantum tunneling van, but it like hits a switch or something, and then he pops back out. But besides that, I love when he actually kind of fights with Tony Stark at Tony's house, and he's kind of like, "Hey man, like this is our one chance, and we got to try to do this, and you got to help us." I loved that because you could see how he like was so emotional about it, and seeing the aftermath of all this from his perspective was so cool. Where he's like, "Hey kid, what the hell happened here?" And the kid is just like, "Hey man, like he didn't even say anything. He's like, look around, you know." But yeah, I really like Ant-Man in this movie. I was like, he was perfectly used. I thought
Ant-Man's very underrated.
He's underrated.
In these films,
Yeah, but
and maybe he's not. Maybe people really do appreciate it, but we just don't hear about it as much.
Yeah, I think his films have not been loved as much because they're a little more formulaic and they're also a little just more jokey, so people don't really like cling to them the same way. But I still think they're pretty good films. I really enjoy them, and I just was so happy to see him. And it was weird to see him without, it was like Civil War. He didn't have Hope. He didn't have Hank Pym and stuff like that. And they have this moment where he meets back up with Hope, and they kind of just like look at each other, and there's not much of an emotional kind of reconnection there. But when you think about it, she was gone for like no time, more or less, for her, and he was only in the quantum realm for like 5 hours, so it was just like maybe a couple of days that he wasn't with her. So kind of like seeing each other and being like, all right, let's do this. Like I was like, okay, that's fine, that's totally fine. But yeah, I really like Ant-Man. Ant-Man's great. Let's see, I'm kind of moving down the line here. I'd say, like, looking at the Guardians, you got Drax, Groot, and Mantis, who are kind of not in this much at all. They have little moments here and there, but there's not really anything to report on, would you say?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, I wish I would have seen Mantis fight a little bit. You just see her kind of go in, but nothing. I didn't see her really do much.
She's kind of walking around like all creepy, like, doesn't do too much. You're right, but I think that's okay. I think they've had a lot of screen time, and they'll still get some more moving forward here. So it's like, it's all right. Also, Drax. There's another one who you want to see get the kill shot on Thanos.
Yeah,
like, hating, like he's like, "Oh, you killed my wife and daughter" and stuff. I was like, "Yeah,
that was his purpose for so long." So
yeah." I'm surprised he didn't just beeline it for him, but that would have been interesting. But I will say, Rocket had some really good play in this movie, and I keep forgetting that Rocket is in the Guardians, and I know it sounds stupid, but I feel like Rocket's like his own thing, and seeing him as part of the team and like conversing with the other Avengers and with Tony Stark and working with him, I loved that. And there's like a moment where Tony accidentally calls him Ratchet, so it makes me think of like Ratchet and Clank maybe. I was like, oh my gosh, like I love him in this movie, and I loved him in Infinity War, man. Like he's so good. How do you feel about Rocket?
I love Rocket. Rocket was a little annoying sometimes, but I think he's really come around this film.
Do you mean like annoying, like in Guardians 2?
Yeah,
like, fighting and stuff?
Yeah, sometimes in Guardians they overplay his zaniness, but
Sure, yeah, no, I get that. I understand that. They did tone it back, and Bradley Cooper.
It's hard to take the Guardians serious.
Oh, for sure. That's maybe my biggest like qualm with any of the Guardians stuff is like I don't ever believe in. I'm just like whatever. They'll probably all be fine. Yeah, I was not a huge fan, but I really love him. The Russos, I feel like, handle him super duper well. And I know James Gunn has had some, like, especially in Infinity War, he was a big kind of driving force.
Yeah.
And him and Thor, I think, have a fun dynamic. Not so much in this movie, but in the last one, there's definitely this kind of great relationship that gets put together there. But Rocket, he's with Groot in one moment. There's not really much more than that. But I think because Groot is
you don't see a lot.
Yeah, he's like young Groot still, so it's like he's not super emotionally connected to him, so it's like they're just kind of there. But yeah, now let's kind of jump. I want to talk about one of the things that you love, one of the aspects of these films you love the most. Doctor Strange shows back up for a little bit, has his moments. What do you think about the good Doctor?
Yeah, he's an awesome character, but they did do him dirty. They did him dirty this film. He was holding back,
Yeah, and I love that when he shows back up, he's talking to Tony Stark about this in the final battle, and Tony's like, "Is this the one where we win?" And he's like, "If I tell you, like, it's not going to happen the same way."
And Tony's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yep, let's do it."
And then eventually there's that moment where it's like the final moment, and Tony kind of looks at him, and Strange kind of holds up the one finger, and he's like, "This is it." Like, it's like, oh my gosh, which I love that. I think that was great, but they do kind of sideline him, and he's like holding back. I think it's the Winds of Atum he's using again, but he's holding back a ton of water from crushing everybody. And then he does have a moment or two where he like sucks a few dudes like into the dirt or something. He does a few moves, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's so cool!" Like I really love that. And I just want more Doctor Strange. Like I think they just give you a taste because they're like, all right, he's going to be a huge player, in this next phase of Marvel films. But right now, it's like it's not really his story. So I get why they kind of are like, all right, we're gonna kind of spread him out. I do feel bad that I don't think we'll get to see him interact with the rest of the regular Avengers a lot, though, because he's such a cool character. I really like him. He's so cool. Another standout character I think that a lot of people will probably be talking about, Captain Marvel. I want to touch, on her briefly because she is a powerhouse, and she's kind of at the beginning of the film, and she's at the end of the film. And I think it's probably a good thing that she wasn't there all the time. It was she kind of Gandalfs it at Helm's Deep, in that in the fight where she shows up later. Like if she was there at the beginning, it wouldn't be as scary of a fight because she's so powerful. What did you think of her in this film?
She was their trump card. I'm glad they used her sparingly because I know she's not a big fan favorite. There's a lot of people really divided on that character. So I'm glad they used her pretty sparingly.
Was there anything in particular that you liked or did not like about her?
I like that she can just crash through ships and just destroy them.
Yeah, she's like Thor at the end of Infinity War, where like he's going through those ships and just blowing stuff up. You're like,
her performance is still pretty flat, and it's wooden. But again, I'm glad they didn't overuse her.
Yeah, I wonder if they're trying to still figure out her personality because it sounds like she filmed a lot of this stuff before Captain Marvel. Yeah. So I'm not sure if they just they didn't have time to be like, all right, here's what her full personality is going to be like, or maybe her lines were just bad because there's that moment.
You see glimpses in Captain Marvel of what she's capable of, but she doesn't really push that through in here.
Yeah, she doesn't seem very worried about stuff, and I don't know if that's part of her character to kind of be apathetic towards stuff because I feel like she's kind of making glib jokes once in a while, but besides that, nothing else.
Yeah. It's not like so distracting though, like a Dimitri of the series. Like that character will always ruin the first half of that film.
Eitri.
Yeah.
I was like, who's Dimitri? Yeah, Eitri the dwarf. Yeah.
Like every time that scene will come up now, I'm gonna cringe, which
Yeah.
sucks because like, and I might just edit the movie so that it can flow seamlessly throughout both.
I think he gets better later on when he gets to get like some more jokes in. Like he seems way better when he's not super sad and like punching and kicking Thor. It's like later on you're like, oh, he's like if you do this, you'll be killed and you'll die. And Thor's like,
just the accent was so wrong for him because he does such a stellar job in Game of Thrones. He really does. Just did not do it for me here.
Yeah. Well, thankfully he wasn't in this movie, so that was one less character to worry about. Yeah, for me, Captain Marvel, it was so weird to like have her show up and after they just kind of like football thing where Peter is they've got a new version of the Infinity Gauntlet that they've made and they're trying to get it to where are they trying to get it to again? Are they trying to get it to the van? Are they trying to take it back in time?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get it there and Peter doesn't make it all the way there, like riding on Mjolnir or whatever, but more or less after he's riding on the Valkyrie and stuff, or Valkyrie's Pegasus or whatever it is. But then she's just like, oh, hey, you got something for me there, Peter Parker? And he's like terrified and he's like holding on to this thing and she's just like totally fine with that.
Well, what was the point of the van again?
The van was it had a quantum tunneling machine in it. So they were going to get it there and then put it in the quantum tunneling machine and then just take it back to the past so Thanos couldn't get it.
But that didn't end up happening, right? They ended up not using that?
No, they didn't because somebody else used it instead, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that kind of leads to this moment. It's a bit on the nose, and I know a lot of people are angry about it. It was the one thing that I think that took me out of the movie the most, is that like Captain Marvel's like, I'll have help. She's gonna kind of plow through this army and get this gauntlet to where it needs to go. And they bring up every female superhero that they possibly can. It just seems unlikely, but I get what Marvel's trying to do. I think they're trying to either tease A-Force, which is an all-female led Avengers team. Totally fine. That's fine for me. But it's kind of comical. And I don't know, Levi, upon second viewing, if you got that feeling too, where it's kind of like she was going to do this by herself, but then it was like Wasp shows up, and then like I think Okoye shows up, and then like Mantis shows up. Like all these people came out of nowhere, and it was just all the ladies. It kind of being like Marvel being like, we've got female superheroes.
Yeah.
Like it was fine. It just felt like it felt a little too forced for me personally.
You're gonna get called out for this, so
I probably will. No, it's fine. I'm just saying it felt forced. It just felt forced. I think it's cool. I think it's totally fine. I think a better version of it was when you have like Okoye and Black Widow fighting Proxima Midnight in the first Infinity War, and Scarlet Witch shows up. Like that felt a little more natural to me because it was just like a few of them, but like they pulled like every possible female they could to that one like little moment. I'm like, how did they all get there? Like I'm thinking like logistically, I'm like, I don't get it. It's fine. I don't think that they need to be like, oh, you know what? It should be only for guys, because that's not what the point of this
Jimmy's
is.
the kind of guy where Captain Marvel has the Infinity Gauntlet, she's running away, and you're like, there's no kitchen that way.
Oh my God, no. My thought was like, why doesn't she just take it by herself? Because she could just fly. I was like, you could fly it over there by yourself. You know, if it was another person, like if Pepper grabbed it, you know, and was like, hey, I need some backup here.
I don't like the people right now that are criticizing her because of like a social justice warrior thing. Like,
oh sure,
criticize her because she's bland. Don't criticize her because she's trying to fight for woman equality. Like,
sure, yeah, no, totally. I totally, yeah. That's the thing too. Is like I'm like she's bland, and then people are like, wait a second, you're just sexist. I'm like, no. I just think she's really boring.
She's just boring. Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm cool with female superheroes. Wonder Woman.
Oh my gosh, that's the one I go back to all the time. And a lot of people, I've kind of brought this up. People are like, oh, you just like her because she has like a romantic interest in Chris Pine. I'm like, no, that's not it. I just love that moment when she gets up in the no man's land with the shield and stuff. That's inspired. I love that. But it felt a little too forced for me. And I get why they were doing it. But again, they might be foreshadowing this like A-Force team down the line. So that it makes perfect sense. That's totally fine. Mm-hmm. That was just like one of maybe 2 or 3 times in the whole movie that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this is a movie. Because like the rest of it, I was like so emotionally involved with. But yeah, I think okay. Also, Okoye, let's talk about her for a second. She's probably my favorite right now, female superhero in the Marvel universe. We were talking about this beforehand, Levi. I was like, well, okay, what's a superhero in these films? Where I think everyone's just going to be considered a superhero, right? If Black Widow and Hawkeye could be superheroes, everybody can be superhero. But Okoye, I love how she is like in the beginning, like when Black Widow's talking to everybody on like the little comms device. It's like things like Nebula, like I want to call them Ratchet, Rocket, Okoye, and Rhodey, War Machine, and they're like all like they're kind of part of this team, and they're all kind of talking to each other. And it's like I love that Okoye is there, and she's probably running Wakanda, maybe, or maybe because Shuri's gone and T'Challa's gone. right? So like,
Yeah.
what did you think of Okoye?
Again, used sparingly, but I feel like she had her moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think she'll get way more play in the next Black
We
Panther.
didn't see Black Panther's love interest in this. Why do you think that is?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't
Because
know if
Shuri was there.
Shuri was there. I don't know if it's. We also didn't get her in Infinity War though.
True. Why?
So maybe she was in another part of the world because I know that the whole point what he was trying to make was like you can change the world, but you can do it from here. So maybe she was like off on mission,
Yeah.
or something, and he was like I couldn't call her back. Yeah, I don't know. And he wasn't. He played a decent role in Infinity War, but he was not. He was barely in this. Also, his CGI. There's one like moment where I was like, that doesn't look good. When he shows up for that final battle, his helmet does not look good, and then they
No,
take
it
it off
doesn't.
him. They take it off, and he's like, oh no, it's him. But yeah, I really like Okoye. I think she's so cool, and I love the spunk. I love it. I love that she's gonna go fight these people. She's doesn't really completely probably understand everything that's going on, but she's ready and willing to go for it. And I was like, yeah, man, I love Okoye. Which we should talk about Black Panther for a second. A moment that people have been bringing up a lot too is that he remembers Clint because during this whole handoff phase where they're trying to get this new Infinity Gauntlet to this quantum tunneling device, he's like, hey, Clint, I can help you out. And it's funny because back in Civil War, Clint's like, hey, I'm Clint. And T'Challa says, I don't care. But like,
Yeah.
he does, like, he knew. He's like, I remembered, I was like, oh, that's so nice of you, T'Challa. Like, what a guy. I really enjoyed that. Well, kind of hearing that back now. So next time I see it, I'll be, oh, there we go. Because I remember him yelling Clint. And I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Did
So
you, not a lot of Black Panther in this one.
Not a ton, no. I just think like they're saving these characters. They wanted to focus on the main ones, and these ones have so much more story left to go. So
yeah. It's. I was thinking at some point. I wonder if they were ever considering giving like some of the other members of Wakanda Black Panther suits, not like the serum or whatever, but just like giving them the suits and being like, hey, it'd probably be nice to have some vibranium suits for everybody.
yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. Yeah, but Black Panther, I'm excited to see more of him, and I think they used him just the right amount. But you're right, he, Captain Marvel, and Doctor Strange, I think, are the new trio. Like Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor have been in the past. Those trilogies will be the next kind of thing, the pillars that hold up the next phase of Marvel films. Let's see. Let's kind of roll down the line here. I'm trying to go through them in my head. Let's talk about Spider-Man here for a second. Tom Holland, sweet little Tom Holland, man, showing back up, bringing those emotional moments. What are your thoughts on him, man? Coming in like after Homecoming now.
I like Tom Holland. I've always been a big fan of Spider-Man, and he's funny. He's like activate instant kill. He's got some funny quips.
Yes, that mode is so good, and it's just stabbing. It's just like a bunch of like arms just stabbing into things. I thought it was gonna be like a pistol or like bullet thing because when he activates it that other time without the Iron Spider, but. Yeah, I think
Spider-Man in this movie was used as like a big catalyst for Robert Downey Jr.'s rage. So he plays an integral part of this movie, even though he's not on screen the whole time. The fact that like Tony lost him, and then now like,
I thought it was a really good bait and switch because early on when they're showing like that 5-year jump and Tony's like he's living on a farm or a cabin and there's a picture of Howard Stark. And he goes to grab for a picture, and I'm like, oh, he's going to grab the picture, look at his dad, but he grabs a picture behind it, and it's him and Peter gets the Stark internship, and he's just kind of looking at it like, oh, gosh, I should probably try to get this kid back, like kind of that guilt. And then when he finally meets up with him, and he hugs him, and, Peter's like, oh, this is nice, He's like, this is the first time you're, like, hugging me because you care, like, a lot.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, man, and that's something that I think will be felt throughout, especially in Far From Home. I think that's going to be something that plays a little bit of a role in there too. But yeah, I thought he was great. He still brings the wide-eyed kind of like he thinks everything's insane as it's happening kind of stuff. But he gets the gravitas of the moment. So I was like, attaboy, Peter. I love you. I'm glad you're back. Not that he wouldn't be because he's just the biggest Marvel character.
Yeah.
Pepper Potts, she gets a little play in this movie, which is crazy because like
so happy.
After like Iron Man 3, I think we all kind of thought she was done, but then she showed back up in Homecoming and then Infinity War and now this kind of as her character Rescue, but she has like lasers and stuff because Rescue in the comics is just like only to help and save people, doesn't have any weapons on it. But this one, she definitely had weapons and she has proven that she can use the Iron Man suit in the past. So I was like, oh, this is kind of cool to see her get, a little bit of play here.
She's spunky.
She's spunky. Do you think they'll try to like use her moving forward as like a pseudo Iron Man?
No, she's done.
You think
This was
she's
like,
done? Okay.
yeah, I think this was a wrap up for her character.
Okay, you think so? Do you? It could be. And that moment she has with Tony near the end is like that's pretty good. I still think it was almost more emotional with Peter, and I
Yeah.
wanted a moment with Cap, but it didn't exactly happen. But we'll get to them. Don't worry. Yeah. Also, War Machine. I think they kind of bench him a little more in this one. He has I think he has more screen time, but there's not a lot of stuff going on with War Machine. I feel like he's just kind of there. Like he's just doing it and he's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm doing this thing. Did you get anything different from him?
No, not really.
No, yeah. I was like, he seemed kind of bored, and I really wish, and I know it's impossible, and I know Terrence Howard was only in the first one, but think of how emotional it would have been if Terrence Howard would have been throughout all of these movies, and then he would have said, goodbye to Tony Stark at the end of it. That would have been so like, since the first movie. Yeah, but yeah, he's just kind of there. I don't know. He's all right. I want to move now into the actual main cast here. So obviously we talked about two of these guys so far, but let's talk about the other four. Let's start with Thor. How do you like Thor in this movie, Lou? Are you pro Thor? You anti Thor? Somewhere in the middle?
I'm somewhere in the middle with Thor. I know that they're leaning real heavy on him on these days for comic relief when he used to be such a stoic character. So it's a very big shift in his personality. And I know Chris Hemsworth wanted that. So, you know what? If this is a wrap up for Thor 2, I'm okay with that.
Sure. And I don't think it will be because it seems like he's going to be moving on to join the Guardians of the Galaxy. He calls them the Asgardians of the Galaxy, which I didn't know this. That's apparently a comic out there, which I thought was really funny. And I think after what happened with Ragnarok, it seems like you're right that they're leaning into the comedy way more, and like he would fit much better on a team of jokesters now. Yeah. And I know everyone's like, oh, Chris Hemsworth is such a comedic actor, and that's totally fine. And I know people love that. But at the same time, I kind of miss being kind of like revering Thor or thinking he was a serious character. Not that he can't joke, but the Thor I like is the one that like is still kind of Shakespearean all the time and says things like in the first Avengers, he's like, you humans are so petty and tiny or something like that. I love that. Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's funny to me. Like that's funny Thor stuff. But now he seems like kind of Deadpool-like in some ways. It's just like everything's kind of a joke. But in this one, he's obviously clearly super depressed. I don't know if you need the new Asgard stuff. I know we're talking about this over lunch. I think New Asgard you could have cut out of this movie. All right? I'm just saying that right now. I know there's a lot of Korg fans out there and Meek fans and Valkyrie fans, but I felt like that you didn't really need it. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, what do you think of his hair and what do you think of his physique in this one? Or do you like it? Do you not?
Of who?
Thor.
Oh, I like his look at the end when he gets like super Thor, but throughout it's just like, we get it. We get the point you're trying to make. He's disheveled and he's, drunk and
yeah. I will say this though, I really enjoy the fact that they played heavily into Dark World, and that's a movie that like everybody hates, and like a lot of this movie has to do with Thor: The Dark World in a weird, strange way, and he gets to kind of meet up with his mom again, which I thought was really impactful.
They're like, we want people to go back and watch that movie.
Yeah, I just like that he got to go back and he had that closure with her because she does die in that one, and it's just kind of like, nope, there's nothing, you never get to say goodbye to her, and I was like, oh, I like that because Loki obviously had a problem with that. But they used some like stock footage apparently of Jane Foster because Natalie Portman didn't want to come back. So like apparently that was not.
Oh really? That wasn't her.
I guess not. I guess not. So you don't get to see Rocket kind of stab her and suck out the ether or whatever. But I liked kind of throwing back to that a little bit. I was like, that's kind of cool. And him getting Mjolnir back. I was like, oh, there we go. It's nice to see Mjolnir. I was like, like Stormbreaker's fine. I don't really like the look of this version of Stormbreaker, but it was nice. I was like, oh, there's Mjolnir. All right, good deal.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one, I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit myself. I think Thor is fine in this movie. He's a little too jokey and wacky for me personally. I don't really enjoy him being the butt.
That's why I took a point off.
The joke, yeah, or a 0.1 off. Yeah, that was one of the things for me that got a little too like, oh, hey, he's taking Rocket and rubbing him against his big fat belly. But as other podcasters have talked about in the Weekly Planet, they made a really good point. But he's like, they're saying, okay, another 40 kilos or whatever that is in pounds on Thor probably wouldn't mean much. Like he'd be fat to us, but like for him that would be nothing. Like he's so strong. So at the end, you're right, Levi, when he gets like both his weapons and he's got all the lightning and the bearded braids in his beard and did I say bearded braid in his beard? Yeah. Anyway, and he's fighting. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And it was cool to see him walk out with Cap and Iron Man against Thanos. It's like, yeah, here we go. Like, I really enjoyed that sequence. Let's talk about Hulk for a second. Hulk, man, Professor Hulk. He's kind of both Banner and Hulk at the same time. What do you think of him?
The CGI they used for me was a little jarring at first, but the more you watch it, the more your eyes adjust to it.
Yeah.
But I was like, is this what we're doing? And it is what we did. He was fine. I liked him actually more in this film than I have in a while. Okay. Mark Ruffalo's acting's also been a little choppy. Well, last couple films.
Yeah, in Infinity War and Ragnarok, he just yells the whole time. Like he's just kind of like, like it's like, okay, calm down there, man. Yeah, they do just kind of plop him on you too. You're just like, he shows up at a diner or whatever. They're just like eating with him. It's like they're all just kind of like, oh, there he is. Did you want any type of closure between him and Natasha?
Yeah, I'm really bummed we didn't get to see that. I mean, I know he was upset that she passed away, but he didn't really get any kind of closure on that end or Thanos. And he was his ass was beaten twice by Thanos, so I know he's pissed.
Wait, when was the second time?
The first time was in the ship.
And then the second time he's just in the Hulkbuster and he gets thrown inside. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, and he throws a bench. He gets angry that she's dead. And someone was saying this.
You don't hear a water splash. That pisses me off.
Oh, you don't hear water splash? Oh, no. Maybe threw it into the forest.
I was listening for it.
That was more or less Natasha's funeral. Do you think about that? Like, Tony Stark gets all this stuff, and like they're like, Natasha, like we don't do it. It was during the time they couldn't have time for it. But it was like they didn't even there's nothing. It was just like, whatever.
Yeah, I've read that they didn't really want to focus on her because she's always been like a spy to begin with, so they didn't want to make a big deal about her.
Sure. Yeah, and kind of her family was just like
it wouldn't have been as emotional for Tony Stark's passing than it was for hers.
Reverse that, right? It would have been. It's more emotional for his passing than.
Yeah, it would have taken away from his storyline if they had done like two
funerals.
Yeah,
we're doing back-to-back funerals, everybody. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will be honest. I am really kind of disappointed what they did with the Hulk, and I know a lot of people out there who probably listen to this. They're like, Jimmy, how could you? We love it. It makes perfect sense for his character arc to finally become one with that. That's fine. I get that. However, I feel like since the first or maybe even second Avengers, they've taken away the thing that makes the Hulk the embodiment of what the Avengers is, and that's the time bomb. Avengers have always been like this kind of unstable concoction that they are the people you call in to respond to a horrible thing because you just don't know what else to do. And that's what I loved about the Hulk, to have somebody on the team that you're not really sure what he's going to do all the time. But now he's just kind of relegated to being just a guy on the sidelines, and he doesn't even get to fight in the final fight. They use the New Age Infinity Gauntlet, and he snaps everybody back into existence because it puts off gamma radiation, and it probably won't kill him. But I just thought after that first fight we got in Infinity War that this was going to be Hulk was going to come back in a big way and just tear Thanos apart. I thought he was really they were going to start fighting and grapple, and then there was going to be this. But they kind of saved that for Captain Marvel, which, by the way, for that little fight between her and Thanos, did you like that? Because I thought that was pretty cool.
In the beginning or
at the end?
Oh, I liked both of them. When she's got him in a headlock in the beginning and then at the end too.
Yeah,
he beat her ass for a second, took the Power Stone and.
Oh yeah, well he headbutts her and then
she didn't do nothing.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a response to Justice League where Wonder Woman and Superman are headbutting each other. Do you remember that part? I was like, maybe that was that. Yeah, I will say this though: that beginning part where they go in and murder Thanos at his house or his little hut, great stuff. That movie, it felt like
that was so a surprise.
Hollow victory, just Thor just being like, I went for the head, cutting him off. That was so great, literally. But I'm just not a huge fan of what they did with Hulk, and I think the Russos don't know what to do with him as a character. I felt like Joss Whedon knew how to handle that character way better, and ever since then, they just have been like, nope, he's kind of a joke now, and everybody can beat him. Everybody.
Do you think we'll see the Hulk again?
I think so. I think we will. But I don't know what you do with him now, right? Because like he's a fully realized character. So like you have to have the Hulk. Like, do you strip him apart and you'd be like, all right, here's Banner and here's Hulk, and Hulk is just rage and like I thought when the Ancient One hit him out of his chest,
I thought
like
that he was gonna rage. Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have like a rage-filled Hulk, but didn't happen. Did you like seeing the Ancient One though? I know you love Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Oh hey, there's
And
Ancient
she's helping with the fight. Like I love that shit where they're
One.
like,
Oh, yeah, there's like another
because you always
sorcerer there.
wonder like, oh, what are all these people doing during these times of conflict? And it's like, oh, she was helping out. You just couldn't see her.
Yeah, and isn't there like another guy there? Like he's like using his fans and stuff, and he's like kind of taking out Chitauri back in 2012. He's like shooting stuff off, like or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just not. That's one of the things that kept for me personally. Now, again, this is my preconceived notions of like what I desire versus like what was maybe best for the film. So that's why these reviews from mine will always be subjective to some point. But yeah, so Hulk, I was like, come on, guys. Like, they sidelined two of their major Avengers, Black Widow and Hulk, and they had a relationship, and that just kind of was thrown out the window. It was like, whatever, who cares? I was like, okay. Let's talk about, I'd say, arguably the focal points of this film. Iron Man and Captain America. I don't even know who to start with. I guess we'll start with Iron Man. How about that? Iron Man, man, gee dang. Like, Robert Downey Jr.'s probably best performance because of the range of emotion you get from him. And I think a lot of it is for me in the very beginning where you get him, 3 weeks in space, going back home. He's like super skinny and he's really pissed off. He talks a little bit about wanting like a armor shield around the world or whatever. And he's like, hey, Cap, you said if we were going to lose, we're going to do that together, but we weren't together. And this is on you, dude.
Pissed.
Like, I love that whole bit. And they're all just kind of sitting there, like watching him just kind of break down on himself. And he can't even walk. It's like, oh my gosh. Like,
that's why it added such a big emotional depth to the film. And the acting was superb. Like Robert Downey Jr.
So good.
Yeah,
he's making his $75 million or whatever it is. But yeah, and I really liked that because of the time jump and all this stuff. Marvel got to have their cake and eat it too with these two characters, and specifically with him because he talks about, I think at the end of Age of Ultron, he's getting like a farm or something with Pepper, and he kind of does that. But he has a kid. He has Morgan, a 5-year-old like daughter, and their relationship is super endearing. The whole like I love you 3000 thing, which is more than a ton. And what did you think of all that?
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. It's kind of a bummer he got his piece, but like Pepper said, you're never really going to rest on this until it's done.
Yep. And that's what I remember specifically from Civil War when he's talking to Cap. He's like, Pepper and I are taking a break. He's like, I can't stop and I don't want to stop. And it's just like, because so many people were like, oh, he's just going to retire. I'm like, dude, he can't. Like, clearly in this movie, it proves that like Tony Stark's like, I can't just retire, man. If somebody says like, there's an option, he's like, I'm going to take it. It's like, you're doing it, Tony. Like, yeah, I love it. And of course, he's the guy who like cracks time travel.
Well, they out of all the actors, they asked him. They were like, they went to him and made sure he was cool with the story arc they had for him. And I guess he had mixed emotions, but at the end of the day, he accepted it. So.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting to see, like, from the very beginning of Iron Man being just so into himself, and he kind of is throughout a lot of the movies, but like becoming more and more of a martyr, especially after the first Avengers where Cap's like, hey, you're not the guy to lay down the wire and let the other guy crawl over you, and he's like, I just cut the wire. But so at the end of Avengers 1, he takes the nuke and he sends it into space. He thinks he's gonna die there. At the end of Age of Ultron, he's gonna blow up that thing, and he tells Thor, he's like, this might be like probably a one-way trip. And so like he's constantly trying to sacrifice himself, and he finally gets to do it in this movie, and in the best freaking way possible.
Yeah,
like the whole like moment where he's got the gauntlet on and he goes for Thanos, and this right after Doctor Strange is like, this is the one time he goes and he gets the stones off him, and Thanos thinks he has them, but he doesn't. And he's like, Thanos like, I am inevitable. And there's Tony with all like his new Infinity Gauntlet. He's like, I am Iron Man. It just boom, and it's just like, ooh, like, oh my gosh, like. It would have been cool to see Tony try to wield the stones for like a moment, but I don't think he could have like actually used each one without dying. Like he's like, I got one chance. I'm gonna do this.
It took everything for him just to do the snap. So
yeah, which reconciling with Pepper and then also having Morgan and stuff was great, and him like we already talked about with Spider-Man. But I don't know if there's a better way that they could have ended his like emotional arc or that character. Do you think there's anything they could have done better there?
No, I really liked how they wrapped it all up.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that there's a few combos in there too. Like Thor shoots him in the back with lightning. Like after the first Avengers, he's like, "Hey, Thor, light me up!" And he's just like super lasers on Thanos. And this is a gauntletless Thanos here we're talking about, like, which is also excellent. But is there any other things you want to say about Iron Man before we move to my boy?
Do you wish you could have seen a little bit of fighting with Thanos having the gauntlet, or do you feel like it could have made things super messy?
I kind of thought we were going to get that. I thought, especially in the beginning, I thought he was going to maybe have like a few of the stones were working or something. I wanted that, but I think that's why they saved all that for Infinity War. And they're like, hey, if you want Infinity Stone action, it's in Infinity War where he's using each and every one of them, you know. But I wish we could have seen that. But that's okay. I'm like, did you want to see that?
A little bit, but it makes sense. I think, like I said, it would have been a little messy.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been so hard to do. Yeah, but again, Robert Downey Jr. just killing it, and his kind of his talks, and also him him playing a SWAT team member back in 2012 for the first Avengers when they go back in time to that moment after the Battle of New York, and he's just in there and they're trying to steal the Tesseract, and he's just kind of like he's there, but they kind of screw it up, and he's like, like you know, that like I love watching him just be in that world and seeing himself walk by. Which also shout out to Robert Redford for doing a freaking cameo, and all those dudes from Shield and Hydra showing up was like, I didn't think they were going to be in this movie. They're just like, hey, hi guys, we're here. Like, I was like, oh man, they got like everybody. I was like, wow, well done for that. Also, I'd be remiss not to mention this when they do go back a second time. Cap and Iron Man, he gets to hang out with his dad. Did you enjoy that sequence?
Yeah, I think it was a nice bit of closure for him to get his ending.
Yeah, and kind of just meet up with his dad.
They've always had a bad type of relationship, so it was nice to see that closure before. You know, we asked for a lot of closure in this film, and we got it in a lot of places. Others we didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too. After watching like the first Avenger, like Howard Stark isn't like a super bad, mean dude in that one, and like something happens in the years that follow where he just becomes just like such a like really mean guy. I guess like not mean, but like mean to his family.
He's stern.
He's stern. Yeah, that's probably it. But yeah, I did like that whole sequence. And apparently Jarvis, who's his butler there, was from like the TV show, like Peggy Carter or something. So I was like, oh, they're finally like nodding to the TV shows a little bit here for the first time. I was like, good on them. Also, you get that little glimpse of Peggy in the past, and also like a young Hank Pym, Michael Douglas. There's technology.
That technology is ridiculous.
I'm getting worried because, like, as someone who would love to be an actor myself one day, I think like, why would you want me when you could just de-age every other incredible actor, even if they're like 90? They're just like, just de-age me. It's fine. It's like, oh my gosh. I liked that, like the throwback, his old like Ant-Man like helmet is there, like the comic accurate one and stuff. I was like, this is so great. Like old Shield headquarters has like the Tesseract, the Pym particles, just like whatever you need. It's just like, all right, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know if you could ask for more for Iron Man in this film. I think he kind of gets everything he needs. I wish we could have had a little more stuff with his suit, and I was kind of hoping we get like an older suit out of this, but he still had like the nanotech thing. I was like, it's fine. Like I miss the older ones with the the mechanical feel to them. But last but not least, Captain America. My guy. I call him my guy because I absolutely adore Captain America. And if you guys have watched our other shows about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know that like the trilogy of Captain America for me is probably my favorite. I absolutely adore it. It's just different all the time. Before I get into it, Levi, do you have anything you'd like to kind of open up with here on Cap?
No. How about it, boy? He's your favorite character, so
are you sure? Because I want you to get in a word or two before I start.
No, you go.
Okay.
Because he's your boy.
Okay. Cap's the best. All right, that's it. No, I'm just kidding. Cap, okay. He fights. I just want to jump in. He fights himself at one moment in this movie.
I love that.
There's like this fourth wall breaking joke where back in the end of, the Battle of New York, he's like, he starts fighting himself because his old self thinks that he's Loki as an imposter. And of course the real or the modern day Cap has his helmet off or whatever. And they actually make a few jokes about his costume. And there's, Ant-Man, he's like, that's America's ass. And then like after Cap beats himself, he's like, yeah, that is America's ass. Like, I love that they're just kind of like poking fun at that. Cause that's something that like when people talk about the first Avengers, like, oh, Captain America's suit looks horrible in that movie. It's like, now they know that. But then also he's fighting himself and his old self is like, I could do this all day. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like, that is so funny because like that line has become synonymous with him. but it's also funny for like the audience to hear that, and then he himself addressing it, being like, "Yeah, I know I say that all the time, and apparently I would always say that no matter the situation, even if I'm fighting myself." I thought he would beat himself up pretty easily, though. Did you think that that fight was going to go the way it did?
Uh, yeah, I feel like we've seen something like this before, but maybe not.
Like, didn't you think that like an older
I
Cap
had a little
would
bit of
know?
deja vu with that.
Like, you think that Cap would know his own moves, though? I thought that's what was going to happen. Like, Cap would throw a punch,
Yeah,
and like the older
he
Cap
was
would be
getting
like,
his ass kicked by the old Cap.
I do like that he's so smart though. Like Cap has learned, like he does two amazingly intelligent things here. When he's fighting, he's
Yeah.
getting pinned down. He's like, "Bucky's alive," and the other Cap's like, "What?"
I
He's like,
love that.
"Punch him." And then he's in the elevator with all the Hydra agents that are supposed to be Shield agents, and you think, okay, we're doing the greatest hits. You know, like this is like a greatest hits of Marvel, and he's gonna fight all of them. But he's like, nope. And he just kind of leans over to Sitwell, who has, I think he has the scepter or something. He's just like, "Hail Hydra" or whatever, or the Tesseract, and he's just
It's
like,
so funny.
"Oh."
He just knows how to play them.
I was just like so impressed because back in the day, like Cap has always been, he's had moments of intelligence for sure, but it's usually just like, I'm going to try to brute force my way through this. Now he's just like, nope, I'm just going to be smart about this. Why would I fight all of these people all day long? He's just like, I'm just going to say like 4 or 5 things to these people and just kind of walk through, which I really enjoyed. Did you like that whole like kind of different perspective of the Battle of New York? Like, you know, seeing
Oh, absolutely. I always love, like I said before, I always love seeing where other people are at during these big moments. So
I meant like when they like when Tony sneaks in and they see him like all posing in front of Loki.
yeah, yep. I love all the behind the scenes like.
Sure. Yeah. I wonder how they did all that. I'm so interested to kind of watch how they made this because I would just think that's such a monumental task because you have that, but you also have Vormir, but you also have Morag. And they're all running at like the same time. It's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of a lot to take in. But they do a really good job of it. Really good job balancing. But Cap, you know, I love their kind of relationship. He goes back in time, you know, Tony, and he's kind of like, Tony's like, "Do you trust me?" And he's just like, "I do." Like, there's still that mutual bond, but there's still, like you had said too, there's that kind of bad blood where they just can't, like, they can't be really close again.
Yeah.
Like, not that they were ever super close, but it just seems like there's this constant, like, we kind of hate each other, but we don't. You know, like, it's just like this kind of, like they want.
I don't think they're ever going to really be able to fully forgive each other for
the Civil War
choices that they've made.
Yeah,
and we're supposed to feel that, and that's fine.
One of the biggest theories that's been floating around, I know I was actually on another podcast where we talked about this too, but is the reason why Captain America is able to do what he's able to do later on, and I'll talk about it in a second here, and is because he finally divulges to Iron Man that in Civil War that he knew that Bucky was the guy who was responsible for killing his parents.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool moment. And I love that in Civil War so much. And there's so much like back and forth of like, oh, should they sign or should they not sign the Sokovia Act or whatever accords? And I love that, like, in that moment, I totally understand Iron Man where he's like, but he killed my mom. Like, he's like, I'm going to kill this guy. I don't care what you're going to do. And I just love that. That was Steve's like last thing to be like, okay, now I'm worthy. And I don't have to worry. It doesn't hold any other resentment or restraint, you know, except for the fact that he made out with his dead girlfriend, almost niece or something. I don't know. Agent 13 is like gone. Like they're just like, she's gone. I think she got snapped away. I think she did. I think she was one of them. But anyway, the best moment in the film, and I will not allow anyone to say anything otherwise. I don't cry often, much, especially with movies, especially tears of joy. Found that out about myself though that I can. Comes out of just the right eye here. When this final battle here, we're starting it off. We got just original recipe Thanos with his armor and his crazy sword, double-edged sword thing. It's Iron Man, it's Thor, it's Cap. Thor is getting pinned down by by Thanos, and you see the hammer get picked up or whatever, and you're like, okay, is he summoning it to him? But I was like, this is the moment I've been waiting for. And then I thought, I was like, oh, maybe they'll do it like Vision, where Cap is going to hold Mjolnir, and he's going to hit him once, and then it's going to be done. Oh, but no, they didn't. They went insane with it. They he hits Thanos. He's like throwing his shield. He's bouncing the hammer off the shield. He's using lightning. He's like spinning it up and stuff. It was incredible. I was like, this is what I wanted. This is my boy at like maximum capacity. I was like, oh, did you get like the vibe, man? Did you get it? 'Cause I got it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
On the second time you viewed it, was it the same kind of feeling?
Yeah, it was just awesome that he could break out of that and just really go full ham on him.
Yeah, were the people in your theater, were they freaking out about that moment?
Yeah, people were like audibly going, "What?"
Oh my gosh,
we had a drunk guy a couple seats down, and he was super drunk. And I'm like, "Why are you here if you're drunk?" But he was like, "What?"
I love that in that moment too. Thor's like, what does he say? He's like, I knew it all along, or there was something that he's just like, I knew. He's like, I knew it. Like,
he's like, I knew it. Yeah.
I love that because like it just goes back to Age of Ultron where he tries to pick up the hammer and it's like he almost does. And like part of me thinks like I wonder if and Thor doesn't do anything, but like what if Thor was like holding Mjolnir down? He's just like, just don't pick up. Like he's like not gonna let you do that. I don't like the moment though where they accidentally switch weapons and like he's like, hey, you can have the small one. Like he kind of tosses Mjolnir back to Cap, like, I don't really want this one anymore. I was like, dude, don't disrespect Mjolnir. Like that's pretty cool. Like Stormbreaker is big and crazy. But that fight where he gets that and he starts beating up Thanos, I was just like, oh. And also his costume looks so good. Like his got like little scales and stuff in it too. I was like, oh, it's like so freaking good. And his hair, man. Dang,
that costume was so bad in the first one.
It's so bad. I
like his beard. I like him with the beard.
I'm glad the beard's gone though. It's just original Cap, and I love when he's facing down the army and he like straps the shield to him. He's like gonna go fight him, and then you just see the little portal start opening up, and it's just like, and then he gets to finally freaking say it, where he's like, "Avengers assemble," and then they start playing the music. They start running towards each other. It's like, and then we both thought this. I don't know why we thought this, Levi. We both thought that was gonna cut, like it was gonna cut black at that moment.
I think they were gonna show the fight.
It was just be like, nope.
I thought they were gonna hobbit it, you know.
Oh, and be like, yeah, it happened. No, but that's what we all came to see, right? But that moment felt like the most comic booky moment that has ever lived. Like it was all of the forces of evil, all the superheroes you could possibly throw at it, and they were just like,
possibly the biggest moment on screen ever with all the characters in it.
And it was so good. Even though some of the stuff was predictable, like I knew when all the guns on his ship turned to shoot to the sky, I'm like, oh, hey, Captain Marvel's showing up. And then when she showed
I didn't
up,
know it was her.
I
honestly didn't know.
I'll say this. I don't like her personality, but I love her power set. And I love that when she shows up, she's like a force to be reckoned with. People like even the guns on his ship are like, hey, there's a huge energy sequence. Like, they're shooting into the sky. And people are like, what's happening? And I was like, she's coming. Like, I was like, here she comes. Like, that was so cool to watch her just cut through the ship. That battle sequence was insanity. I can't even say insanity. Like, there's just so much going on, and everybody's just killing. Like, even Peter Parker is like, I'm killing now, like instant kill mode. Like they're just all just like, just gotta kill. There's that little reunion with Gamora and Peter, but it's a different Gamora. She's from the past, you know, like, and he's just kind of like, hey, you're back. And
which is
like,
a weird kind of, it's so going to be a weird story. Like,
yeah, is he going to try to chase her down? Yeah, moving forward, like, is it going to be, you know, Thor and the Guardians trying to find Gamora?
Well, and at the end, he's searching for her, and it's like, but it's not the same girl. Like,
yeah, I know. It's so weird. So like, he has to kind of like win her back again, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's what 3 will be about, is like them searching for her and trying to find her.
I know that Taika Waititi pitched Thor 4, but at the same time, I'm like, why don't you just keep Thor just like, let's put him as Guardians of the Galaxy, like the main Guardian of the Galaxy. Like, just take over Star-Lord's role, because like everybody respects Thor way more than Peter, even as a fat Thor. When they were making jokes about Peter being fat in Infinity War, I was like,
yeah,
all right. But yeah, sorry, we're getting off tangent for Cap. I'll wrap it up here with Cap. But then at the very end, going back and placing all the stones back, probably ran into Red Skull on Vormir at some point when he put the Soul Stone back. They didn't talk about that. This is like, yeah, whatever, don't worry about it. But I like that he...
Well, he doesn't have Mjolnir when he comes back either.
I was thinking about that. He puts the Ether back, and I think he puts Mjolnir back in Dark World. So I was like, oh, okay, he probably put that back. Because I was like, I thought he was going to put the shield down, and he's going to put the hammer on top of it somewhere, and he was going to leave that for the guys in the future to be like, hey guys, I decided I didn't want to, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, does that open up a lot of plot holes too, though? You know?
Oh, sure. I think there's probably plenty. If you start thinking about it too much, I'm sure there's a lot of, they said, like, hand waving. I'm sure it doesn't all make sense, because the time travel in this movie is that, like, whatever you go back and change in the past, that's actually just that, the present moving forward. That's just the future still. There's no like going back to change it. It makes like branching timelines and messes everything up.
Yeah.
But I like that.
Because there's just like stones now, and they're back to where they were before. So now the Tesseract's going to be a problem again. And
I don't know what they're going to do. I think Thanos, unless it's like Galactus, I think Thanos might be one of the only people who could like wield it and kill everybody with it. Like, could Captain Marvel use the Infinity Gauntlet? You know,
Probably.
or Thor? I was thinking about that too. I was like, Iron Man probably didn't need to die, but like, there's like, okay, let's wrap this up. Yeah, that's true. Those stones could come back, but at the same time, I kind of thought they were gonna they're back in time, but Thanos destroyed them, you know, like back when he was on the farm. So I don't know if they still exist in the future of.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they exist in the past storylines.
Kind of, but that is, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think they just kind of want to sideline them because they're too powerful. Like, if they come back, it's just like, eh. But they do have time machines now, so they can do whatever they want if they need to. I thought it was like, do you kill Pym? Do you kill Hank Pym off? So you're like, no more time, no more Pym particles. You know, like, don't do it. I'm not sure. But I love that at the end you do get Cap and the visual storytelling of the door being open and he finds Peggy and they're just dancing, and that's how they end it. It's just like, you know, he finally got that dance and she's like tearing up, like clearly like this is the moment they reunited. I love that. I was like, oh, that's how they, again, like with Tony and his kid and stuff, this is how Marvel had its cake and ate it too, because it's like you have that, but then you also have old man Captain America who gives the shield to Sam, and he's like, hey, you know, you can be the Falcon.
Yeah.
Do you prefer the Falcon? You can be Captain America. Do you think he should have gotten it, or did you want Bucky to have it, or do you not care?
I don't care.
Okay. I was in the same boat. I was like, they've both been Captain America. I don't really care. I don't know if that show is going to be about them kind of sharing the burden of Captain America. I was like, it doesn't matter. And Bucky was like, man, it's you. Go take it. Like, I don't want it. It's fine.
But he's not a super soldier, so he's more vulnerable as a Captain America.
I guess he still has the wings, and he does have that sick moment where he stabs. Who does he stab? He stabs somebody.
Some dude. It was that was great.
Wings like, wah! Yeah, I love that part. But I like the Cap, you know, and then he's just kind of like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to tell you about Peggy in my life. He's like, I'm an old man now and got to live my life. And it's just like, it's perfect. It's a bittersweet ending to Captain America's story. And I was like, it's good. It's good stuff.
If they were going to end him in any way, that's how I felt most comfortable.
Yep. I think the last character I do want to mention here, obviously Thanos, they make him very one note in this one. He's kind of like, oh, clearly, you know, when he kind of comes from the past into the present, he kind of is like, oh, clearly I should have killed all of you and we should make a brand new world. He's just very much like the classic, just like one note villain. Did you like him as much, or is it just different now?
He was fine. I feel like they did with him what they had to do. It wasn't really a villain type film, right? It was more about like undoing what he did and then finishing him off.
Yeah, which is such a hollow victory in the beginning when they do kill like that Thanos, and it's just like they kill him and it's just like, well, we did it. Like, it's just, that's it. Which I thought was interesting. But I did like this Thanos where it's just like, he was a force to be reckoned with even without the gauntlet, which I thought was pretty insane. I was like, look at this guy. I'm like, he's doing pretty well. He's like spinning his little blade around. I'm like, how are you doing that, Thanos? Like, you're a pretty strong dude with the whole armor and stuff. Very scary. But yeah, he does have a few cool moments with all the main characters there, but still his fight with Captain America was just so freaking amazing for me personally, because it was just kind of like, finally, there we go. That was incredible. He does kind of just give up at the end though, doesn't he? Like when everybody gets turned to ash, he doesn't have like that final like.
I don't think there was anything he could do. He knew it was
sure. Coming. I was kind of hoping he was like horror movie moment where it's like he's doing his last gasp, where he's gonna run up and try to attack like Tony, and like, you know, it would turn to ash like right in his face. That would have been really cool. He's just like, yep. He's like, there it goes, you know. But I was like, he's fine. I think he's a much better character in Infinity War. He's much more the protagonist, obviously, in that film. But yeah, not so bad. And they brought back all the aliens they possibly could have. I was so wrong about Hawkeye going into the vaults or whatever, the raft to go get the like the other villains. He was just stuck in some sewer pipe with those old weird alien things. So I was like, oh, I was completely wrong about that. But he has a cool little scene. The Gamora switch, or no, Nebula switch around there too. I thought that was handled pretty well as well. Yeah, man. So your point 2 off was for what again?
Thor, and I think it was also for like a little bit of Star-Lord.
Okay.
Sure. That I didn't care about.
Yeah, and I didn't give it a perfect score, but I gave it a pretty high score. And for me, again, it's just like, I wasn't a huge fan of like Thor being kind of a joke the whole time. He does have some serious moments, which I liked, but Hulk, I just feel like they've just mishandled him personally for me. But I've always loved Hulk. Hulk's been one of my favorites, and he's not.
He didn't get his closure. It bothered me.
Yeah, he didn't get it. I really wanted to see Hulk do what he does, but he just always loses. Like he just can't win. And they didn't even have him in that final battle either. I was like, man, what a waste. Yeah. Whatever. He probably was in there and I just didn't see him. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all the spoilers we have. I'm sure there's stuff we've missed, but those were pretty much all the big things. But the two biggest takeaways, Black Widow and Iron Man, are dead now. And that funeral scene at the end was great. You get the kid from Iron Man 3. You get everybody there. Nick Fury's there. Maria Hill's there. They don't say a word, but they're all just kind of there. And it's like, yeah, there we go. Get that closure. But then ending on Captain America with the happiness. I was like, that was good. I'm glad you guys had done that as opposed to the funeral. Definitely crying or tearing up for a lot of those moments. I was like,
yeah.
Tony just kind of sitting there like all messed up, just like, that was great. Again, you give it a 9.8 out of 10. Is there any person you would recommend not seeing this, or like you're like, hey, don't go see this movie?
If you're not heavily invested in this series, this isn't really going to do much for you.
Yeah, I think you probably at the very least need to watch Infinity War, but even then you'd be so confused as to what's going on. You'd be like, what the heck? Yeah, man, so many good characters. No matter who you like or whatever films you've watched, there's just like a call out or call back for you. And I was just like, all right. No Michael Pena, though, or like anybody from Ant-Man. I thought they used that. Like, none of that. It was just like...
No, there were probably like too many characters.
Yeah, and they didn't get
too many salaries, too many budgets.
Nobody Ravagers. There weren't like... It wasn't like Sylvester Stallone showed up and was going to shoot Thanos or anything. I was like, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. No Skrulls. I thought Skrulls were going to... I thought something...
No.
But nope.
Yeah, maybe in like Captain Marvel we'll see...
They've got those 20 years where she was like, they were saying like, hey, why weren't you here? And she's like, hey, not every planet's as lucky as Earth is to have you guys. So it's like, okay, so they've got 30 movies they can make right there, which makes perfect sense. Anyway, go see Avengers Endgame. I think a lot of people who've watched this have already, just go see it again. There will not be another movie like this for decades, if that. The last time we had something like this was probably Return of the King. So do yourself a favor, go see it again. I'm definitely going to go see it again. I just need to think about it, process it. It's weighs heavily on my heart. Anyway, we get to move into the next segment of the show. This is pretty much the show that we wanted to, all the stuff we want to discuss, but we're going to move into Timekillers. And it's the games we've been playing, movies we've watching, TV shows we've been viewing. Levi, I don't know, besides this, for me, it's been on my mind all the time. So it's like, it's hard to think of like watching or doing anything else. I will say
I haven't had a lot of time for myself. So I've just been watching, not a lot, actually.
Not a lot. That's okay. I will say this. I actually went back and watched the last two like Hellboy films before this new one.
Oh,
pretty fun. Going back, I will say this. I like the makeup they put on David Harbour a little bit better because like looking at Ron Perlman, I feel like they just spray painted his face and just like put two horns like on his head and they're like, you're good to go. Like, I know there's more to it than that, but
you said that like you were an adult at like Chuck E. Cheese. Pretty fun. Like
it was pretty fun. But I will say this. I really like Golden Army. I like Prince Nuada, the bad guy in that one. I think he's a really cool character. And those movies, especially that second one, I feel like they gave Guillermo del Toro like free reign to just make whatever he wanted. Like the troll market's just like insanity, just like whatever he could think of, they just put in there. But his creative genius is on full display in that film. And I really wish we could have gotten the third Hellboy because they kind of cliffhang it a little. But yeah, I would recommend go and watch those movies if you like Hellboy at all. And I like the world of Hellboy so much. And I just wish we could have gotten something more from that. Besides that, played the new Stronghold and Anthem. I think I'm one of like 5 people who has. Pretty decent. I don't know what else to say about that. I got kicked from it last night and I was able to rejoin, which was great.
That's all you have to say.
I played it twice and I was like, this is over like 2 nights. I'm like, this is fine.
You got kicked from it, of course.
Got kicked from it. And besides that, just watching some Frasier when I can. Oh, and I finished the Man in the High Castle season 3. Pretty good. Also, not incredible. It's decent. Check it out if you want, if you've got Prime Video. Levi, anything else you want to say as far as killing time?
No.
Okay.
Not this week, baby.
We get to move. What did you say?
I said not this week, baby.
Not this week. Not this week, baby. All right. Well, then we'll wrap it up here with community feedback and questions. I asked people to send in their reviews of Avengers, but it seemed like most people were like kind of gun shy to do so. And I didn't want to like force people if they didn't have them. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It seems like a lot of people are really hot on it though. So that's great. But we did get some really good questions in. This one comes from Michael, and I had to clarify, but he said, thoughts on that Sonic trailer? Is this the true sequel to Hop? Which
Jesus Christ.
was a film with James Marsden and a CGI bunny, I believe. But yeah, he just wants to know our thoughts on the CGI Sonic. Levi?
We don't have enough time for this show, but I think that it's a bastardization of a already shitty 3D character. Leave Sonic back in the 2D world that he excelled in, and
Ooh, Exceldon, look at that. That's a speed one.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
He does look a little weird. I've heard people are more excited about Detective Pikachu now than ever, but I don't really care about Sonic that much. So
I've never really been a big Sonic fan.
Yeah, neither.
Sega's always like really tried banking on it, but it's like, you know, he's not bankable.
I know somebody who could watch this and love Sonic, so I'm sorry, Chris, if you are watching this. I know you love Sonic. He's all yours. Also, what do you think of Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik?
Nice return to his zany characters that he used to do. Yeah, he doesn't really look the part for me. So
yeah, we'll see if he gets fat at the end. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it looks really great, but a lot of people have already said that, and they hate it. Other question we have here comes from Missile Mage. Do you like to snack when you go to the cinema? And if you do, is it popcorn or something else? Also related, how do you cope with having to go to the bathroom mid-movie? Levi, I know you'd get some
popcorn, candy, and you don't go to the bathroom. You push through it.
You didn't. You got just a drink this last time when I went with you. Yeah. For me, I actually got a medium drink this time because Joe he wasn't there, but he's like, you got to get a drink for it because he's always like, he likes to have a drink this place. But yeah, I'm with you, Levi. I'm like, don't go to the bathroom. Gesundheit. Don't go to the bathroom. This is serious. You got to plan. Bless you. You gotta plan it out. All right. So if you're gonna go see this movie, it's 3 hours and 2 minutes. Get ready for it. Side note, did you like the little end credit like clanging hammer thing?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a nice little. I would have been sad if they had done anything. If anything, they could have done something like with Peter going into Far From Home, but I'm glad they just kind of left it as is.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, is it just a tribute, or is it like, could he come back, or could they like somebody new take up the mantle? It's like, I think it's mostly just a tribute, but
yeah, I think it's just a tribute.
But for me, I think we answered those questions. I know Joe will have a lot to say on that, Mr. Mage, so we might ask it again next week. And last question, #Critical Podcast, comes from Fraganin. Has there ever been a single game and or film in a franchise that completely ruined your feelings towards the overall work? The one that came to me right away was Darksiders 3. I really, 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 really didn't like that game, and it made me not a super big fan of Darksiders. Like, I still love Darksiders so much, but the problem is I was like, it just was like
that for me was like Halo 4. I love the Halo series, but Halo 4 is not great at all.
I was trying to think of movies that do that.
Has it got to be a movie?
Well, no, it could be games. No, it could be game. I was trying to think of movies also.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could think of because I think of Star Wars even. It's like not one of them for me was like, they're all bad now. I was just like, I just don't like certain things in some of them. Yeah, that's a good question though. I'll have to think on it more because I'm sure one will pop up after we stop recording. But Thor Ragnarok. No, I'm just kidding. People will be like, how dare you? Thor Ragnarok's the best Marvel Cinematic Universe film. And if you love it the most, that's totally fine. I understand.
There are people that love Ragnarok.
I'll go watch it again. I'm going to make a video about it. But yeah, I think that's it. But Darksiders 3 for me. I think Final Fantasy 13 for some people too. But Final Fantasy's all over the place.
Yeah, 13 sucked.
13 was not.
I like Lightning, but I don't like that series.
I didn't. Yeah, they made 3 games on it too. That's nuts. Yeah. I think that's the only one I can think of though. Sorry, I'll think more on it. But anyway, thank you for sending in your questions, guys. And I really appreciate it. If you guys ever have a question you want to send in the show, you can post it in our Discord under the podcast questions tab, or you can tweet it the hashtag Critical Podcast. Either of us, you can tweet at our official account for Critical Reviews, which is @GoCritical, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. Tweet me some good Avengers memes. That'd be great. Or some GIFs. I'd love that. If you'd like to tweet at Levi, where can they find you?
I'm at Levi Fletcher.
Perfection. And if you want to support the show, consider heading over to our Twitch or heading over to our Spreadshirt to get a cool shirt. Take a picture of yourself wearing it. We'd love to see that because our merch is actually really good. I'm not wearing it today. I'm just wearing the Marvel branded one. This is the one they sent me. No, I'm just kidding. No, Marvel didn't send it. I bought this, or it was a gift. It was a gift. Not from Marvel. I wish it were, though. That would be really cool. Kevin Feige, I know you watch the show. I would love to have him on sometime. Anyway, I want to thank the people who made the show happen. I want to thank Thisisdaleb for our intro-outro music. And I thank the one and only Jorin Evers for doing pretty much all the art you see here on the channel. If you'd like to support him and support all of us at the exact same time, head over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/criticalreviews. Even throwing us $1 would help a lot. We actually launched our Patreon 2 years ago today as of this recording. So thank you, everybody, for supporting us for these last 2 years. We really appreciate it. And even though we're not like, crazy and like we're doing this full time yet, we still love doing it. It is still a passion project for ours. So thank you for helping us keep the lights on and keep allowing us to go see these movies and buy these games and do all this stuff and review them. Like, without you guys, the channel would not exist in the form it does today. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it greatly. Levi, anything else you want to say before we wrap up the show here?
No.
Okay, good. I thought you were going to say welcome to the game. I thought for sure I was going to say it.
No, because it's welcome to the end game.
Oh my gosh, welcome to the end game. I love it. That's really good. Good job. All right, well, that being said, just remember to adapt and overcome. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.